This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. This is session number 10 of iPad for All Computing. We've been talking about staying organized and productive this week with our iPads. And on Monday, we learned about the calendar app pretty much in depth. Now, I want to state something here that should be obvious, but I think it's worth repeating. We do the very best we can to cover as much as we possibly can. And, praise God, I think we tend to cover quite a lot. But there's no possible way, of course, that we could cover everything. I said that in the beginning of the course, right? First of all, we don't know it all ourselves. We're all works in progress. And secondly, there's a lot to cover, and you can't cover every scenario, every situation, anything you want to do with these devices. It's always a great idea to spend some time playing with the apps for yourselves, not just doing what we showed you, but just in general playing around with the apps. That's why we have experience labs, to give you the chance to get used to that sort of way of learning. Not only that, you can do Google searches. You can use the iPad user guide. You can look for support articles. We'll talk more about how to do that later, how to go about that. But there's always going to be things that we just couldn't possibly cover every single area. In the mail app, for example, when we taught email, we taught a lot of things about that. But did you know, for example, that you can filter messages in different ways by sender and by date and things of that nature? There's a filter button. And in Safari, whenever you are working with your sidebar, you can create folders for your bookmarks and favorites, and you can reorganize your bookmarks and favorites. And in the calendar, as almost an afterthought, because I forgot about it until later, you can actually not only create new calendars, but you can work with the info on those calendars and share them yourself. Not only can you subscribe to shared calendars, but you can actually share the calendars yourself and choose the color of the calendar and all of those things. And so those are just a few examples of things that we didn't directly teach in depth, but it's possible to do. And there's so much more. And, we do the best we can to go through as much of this as we can. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Spend some time. And if you want to actually, know for yourself whether what you want to do is possible, first of all, chances are that it probably is, right? It probably is. But secondly, you need to spend some time doing some of the research and just experimenting, exploring the apps for yourselves. What's the difference between calendar and reminders? Why would I use one versus the other? And is there a time that it makes more sense to use calendar or reminders? We need to answer that question before we begin to really explore this in depth. Now, the general answer, as with most things that we teach, is that there is no right or wrong for this kind of thing. In this sort of area, I shouldn't say with most things that we teach, because there are certain things, obviously, but in this type of thing, it is personal preference. You hear us say that a lot, right? Different ways of doing things, whatever works best for you. And that's true here too. However, the calendar and the reminders app are two entirely separate apps, and each one has a set of unique features and functions that sort of makes it best served, best targeted towards a particular type of thing. So the calendar is best targeted towards events and appointments, We gave the example the other day when we created a mock event of a luncheon for the instructors, a lunch meeting. Maybe it's a soccer game. Maybe it's an upcoming vacation. Maybe it's a dinner party with somebody, or, different types of events. And it could be even, your doctor's appointment or whatever, your checkup, right? So that is the calendar: meetings, events, appointments. And then the Reminders app contains features and functions that make it best suited to lists of tasks and things that you need to do. Now, again, it's personal preference. There can be some crossover. My parents, for example, my dad indicated that he specifically puts on his calendar, I need to pay this bill on such and such a date every month. I wouldn't do that. I would use the Reminders app for that, because it's a task, and you can even make a list of bills, and they all, can be subtasks, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's personal preference. It works fine for him to do it on the calendar. So you know what? So be it, right? That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So you may find that there's some crossover, and that's okay. You heard Trainer Cliff say the other day that he really he doesn't really use the reminders that much. He does it in other ways. Whatever works, okay? No right or wrong. But I'm going to teach you reminders because I think it's very powerful. It does give you another way of being organized, and it allows you to create individual tasks as well as lists of tasks. Now, these tasks can be checked off like items on a checklist, and they can also have alerts associated with them. An alert is a notification that reminds you to do the reminder, the task, whatever it may be. And we can have different types of alerts based upon the location, based upon the date and time, and even other options that I'll talk about here shortly. The Reminders app is fully compatible with iCloud, as you would expect. So reminders and lists that I create on one device will absolutely sync to all the rest of my devices. But not only that, I can share entire lists of reminders with other people, family members, friends, co-workers, all of these kinds of things. And so I'm going to give you a few examples of some things we might use reminders for. Now, you can use SIRI to create your reminders, or you can use the app. As always, I encourage you to practice both, because sometimes you get more granular control when you use the app, remember? That was certainly the case with Calendar. Now, with reminders, it's not quite, it is still true. It is still true. But I will say that that's an area where Siri really excels. I like her overall, SIRI. I keep saying her name. It sets somebody's device off, right? I do like her. I don't share the, complaints that some people do. I think she works very, very well. And I think she's only getting better, and that's going to continue. But I will say that there are some areas that are really, really strong. And I think reminders is actually one of them for SIRI, because you can specify locations and all sorts of things, right? So some examples of reminders that we might create. I already gave you one a few minutes ago. Pay the bills every month on the 28th. And maybe on the 28th of the month, I have 5 different bills that I need to go online and pay. The electric bill, the sewer, the mortgage, the cable bill, the cell phone bill, whatever. 5 different bills. And so I could make one single reminder, and I could make subtasks underneath it, because I have to do all of them on the 28th. Or I could make a list called bills, and I can have each reminder for a different date. Maybe there's certain bills I have to pay on the 1st of the month, certain bills that come due on the 15th, and so on. So we can have a list of multiple bills, each bill being its own reminder within a list. So we can create lists, and we can assign alerts to those reminders so that I'd be alerted on, let's say, the 15th of the month at 7 p.m. every month. Okay. Here's another example. Water the plants every Sunday at 8 o'clock. And again, we can do subtasks, which plants I need to water, all of that to make sure they're all completed. But here again, we can just create a reminder, and we can call it water the plants. We can turn on a date and time alert so I get a notification at that particular time. Now, here's another example. Remind me to call my wife when I leave work. Now, this is a location-based reminder. It's a reminder that has a location-based alert associated with it. And because I have my work in my contact card, I can just say when I leave work, and I don't even have to specify an address. I can specify a business name or an address, but in this case, if I've got it in the contact card, I can just call it work. And what happens then is that it sets up a geofence around that location, meaning a virtual boundary, so that when I cross over it, when I leave work, I get that notification. Or something similar to that. Remind me when I get home to take the chicken out of the freezer to thaw it, to defrost it for dinner. So when I pull into my garage, it's going to know that I'm at my location, and it's going to send me that alert at such and such a time. When I pass by the grocery store, remind me to pick up milk. Okay. Those are the kinds of things you might do with location-based reminders. We also have the ability to assign tasks to people in a shared reminders list. So let's say that my family and I have a shared list of chores, and a certain person in the family scrubs the kitchen floor. A certain person in the family runs the vacuum cleaner. A certain person in the family takes out the garbage. You get the idea. We can create these tasks with or without alerts, and we can assign them to specific people in the shared collaborative list. There's also the ability to make high priority tasks. So you can assign a priority. You can attach a photo. You can add notes to a reminder. There's all sorts of things that we can do. And we even have the ability to have person-based reminders. Now, that's different than assigning a reminder to a person. What I'm talking about now is something like this. Remind me when I am talking to Trainer Cliff that I need to ask him about the podcast or whatever, whatever it might be. And so there's an option you'll see shortly that's called Remind Me When Messaging. And that works when you are, in an iMessage conversation or what have you with another user, and you'll get that notification at that time. See, what I'm trying to do here is to give you the options that there are, show you what to expect. So when we go into the app and start creating reminders, you'll see the examples that I've talked about. And then I also want to point out that one of the newest, and in my opinion, one of the best features of the Reminders app is the native ability to create grocery lists. There is a special grocery template when you create a list in the Reminders app, and it automatically creates the common grocery store categories: frozen, beverage, dairy, breads, meats, snacks, household, all these different categories, right? And typically it's very good at knowing what category something should be put in automatically. So if I say add milk, it knows that that's a dairy item. If it gets it wrong, or if it doesn't know, it might put it in an other category, or maybe it's just not what you want. Like, let's say I've added chicken. Well, it's going to put chicken under meat, most likely, but sometimes I want canned chicken. I'm making like a buffalo chicken dip, and I use chicken in a can, and so maybe I would change it to the canned category. So you can change the category. Now you can actually create categories in any list. You can definitely make them. They call them sections, actually, I believe. But the grocery one already has its sections, and it already tends to know what items that you want to add. And we're going to make a grocery list together here and show you how to do that. And that's going to be our experience lab in a little bit. And it's so great if you have an Apple HomePod or multiple Apple HomePods. We have them in many rooms of the house, either full-size HomePods or HomePod minis. The HomePod is the Apple smart speaker. And so I can just tell SIRI when I'm in the kitchen, I can say, hey, add bread to the grocery list, and she'll do it. It's that easy. And I'm trying to think right now of some different items that I need to add to the grocery list, because I will give you an example of that. And I actually think that maybe bread is one of them. We're going to put that on there. And Siri, add bread to the grocery list.
Okay, Matt. I added bread to the grocery list.
There you go. And so, praise God. When we get into the app in a moment, you'll actually see that that's on the grocery list. For starters, this is one of those apps that has a split screen interface.
Hide sidebar button.
And it has a sidebar. Let's hide the sidebar for a minute.
Show sidebar.
That's on the upper left, of course.
Show sidebar. Show
and then
set due date button. Set location button. Flag button.
These are quick bar shortcuts for the particular reminder that's selected. And you can do it that way, or you can do it in a more advanced way that we'll actually show you.
Add tag button.
You can even tag your reminders too.
Assign button.
So like, hashtag chores or something. Assign, we talked about that. All these things should sound familiar to you already from my descriptions.
Collaborate button.
Okay.
Share list button. More button. Christmas 23 items. Produce. Expanded. Fresh basil. Incomplete. New item in produce.
Okay. I happen to be in a grocery list. It's not my normal grocery list. It's it was for Christmas, for our Christmas Eve dinner. So I'm going to show the sidebar.
Show sidebar. Hide sidebar.
And now what's on the sidebar?
More button.
Well, a more button, first of all. And when you really want to explore the app, you should take a look at these things. So let's just do that.
Edit lists button. Edit lists button.
That's an option that lets you edit your existing lists.
Templates button.
Okay, templates. We can make a template out of any list that we want to. There are some in here already, but you can save a list as a template, and that will allow you to, it'll like duplicate the list so that you can keep the items on that original list too.
Dismiss context menu.
Right, we're going to dismiss the context menu. I probably won't get into templates too extensively today. Definitely explore it on your own if you think it's something beneficial. You don't need to go into that to create a grocery list. That would be like if I buy the same 8 items at the grocery store every week and I want to keep those on a list all the time, so I can make that a template and I could call it like weekly groceries or something. And then it would not only have the categories, but it would have those 8 items on it already. So you are basically copying the list. But again, I won't go too deeply into that for today. So that was the more button. Let's keep going.
More button. Hide.
Okay.
Search field.
We can search.
Dictate. Today, 5 reminders. March 27th button.
Okay. This is a
tap to view list.
This is a section of what we call smart lists. They're based upon various factors. This one is today, so I can quickly see what is actually on my, across any lists that I have. It doesn't matter, but anything that has a date and time alert assigned to it for today will show up on that today list.
Scheduled 12 reminders.
And that's
button.
Anything scheduled with a date
tap to view list.
and time at all.
All 37 reminders button.
Okay.
Double tap to view list.
That's all of the reminders I currently have across all of my lists.
Flagged. 0 reminders.
You can flag reminders.
Completed button.
And here's a list of all
double tap to view list.
The completed reminders. Now,
my lists heading.
Now this is the My List section. These are the lists that either I've created or that were created for me. You get a reminders list by default, and I believe you get a family list when you do the family sharing. So those were both here already.
Grocery, shared with Jessica Volbrecht and 2 others. 8 reminders. Shopping cart badge, pink.
Now, that's a
tap to view list.
That's a custom list that we've
tap and hold, then drag to reorder items.
Okay. That's a custom list that we created, and I shared it with everybody in the family. We'll show you how to do that here in a little.
Reminders, 19 reminders. List badge, cyan blue.
Default list.
Family, shared with Kylie Volbrecht and 2 others. 7 reminders. List badge, vibrant yellow. Christmas 23 items. TTG team, shared with Disney World packing list. 0 reminders. Airplane badge, light blue.
They're all done.
Double tap to view list.
Because that was last summer, but that was our Disney World packing list. And you hear these different badges that they have. I'll show you how to add those too, because that has an airplane emoji. The grocery list has a shopping cart. And that is something you can do when you create your list. I'll show you that.
Tags expanded.
All right.
Heading,
I have a couple of tags.
All tags button. Tag chores. Toolbar. Add list button.
Very important button at the bottom. Add list.
Set due date button.
Then you're going to cross over to the right side of the screen. And we're going to do that right now. But if I touch the bottom left, I can again get
toolbar. Add list
That
button.
add list button. And that is where you would add a brand new list. Remember, a list is not a single reminder. A list is a compilation of reminders that you're going to put on it. So if you're wanting to, you can use the default reminders list for your basic tasks. But if you want to create, say, a grocery list or some other things, you can, specify. I can also think of another example that I think is really good too, and that's like in a classroom environment. Let's say a group of students is working together on a project, maybe a history project, and you're doing a history project on, let's say, World War II, just, sake of discussion here. And so we've got, 4 or 5 people in a group, and each person is doing different tasks. So remember I said you could assign tasks to people. So maybe, one person in the group is going to be researching the weapons that were used in the war. Another person is going to talk to and interview a Holocaust survivor. Another person is going to look at I mean, there's a whole bunch of, you could go aircraft, you could go, but you get the idea, right? 5 different tasks assigned to 5 different people in a collaborative list. So that's another example. I can see work, family, business, school, home, all sorts of different ways that we can use this app. Again, the add list button at the bottom,
Toolbar. Add list button.
very important, because that's how you're going to make a new list, and you're going to get to name the list when you do. Now, once you've created a list, you can long press it. We all like that long press gesture. Never forget that. And I'll long press one of these here.
Grocery, reminders, family, Christmas 23 items.
All right.
Shared with Kathy Volbrecht and one other. 3 reminders, gift badge, green.
Let's do this one.
Double tap to view list.
Now, we also have rotor actions on it, I think.
Pen, delete, list info, manage shared list, drag item, activate, default.
So in this particular case, we might not need to long press it because they're all in the rotor, but for sighted users too, you need to know long press it, and you're going to get some options. Probably the same ones we just heard.
Button.
Pin. We can pin our lists that we like up to the top.
Show list info button.
We're going to look at list info in a moment.
Share list button.
Share list. Remember I told you can collaboratively share these.
Manage shared list button.
Manage shared list, because this one is already shared.
Delete list button.
Of course, you can delete the list, which will delete all the reminders on it.
Dismiss context
and we can
menu
dismiss the context
button.
menu. Now,
share list.
Let's go to
show list info.
Show list info.
Activate to dismiss pop-up window button.
Take a look at this.
Active cancel button.
There's a cancel button.
List info heading.
Okay, what do we have here, guys?
Done button.
Done button.
Gift badge green.
Okay.
List name Christmas 23 items. Text field.
That was
double tap to edit.
Not to be confused with the fact that there are 23 items on it. There are actually only 3 items left on it right now, and it's probably just because we didn't mark them off. But really, it's called Christmas 23 items. That's the name of the list. It was Christmas 2023, the items that we needed to buy for the Christmas Eve dinner.
List type, groceries.
There's where...
Tap to show context menu.
All right, let me just do that.
Standard button selected. Groceries button. Dismiss context menu.
And then we'll dismiss. Okay.
List type groceries. Double tap to show context menu.
Super important, because in a few minutes we're going to have our experience lab, and you're going to create a grocery list. And that's where you need to specify that it is a grocery list. You have to go into the list info and choose list type groceries. That's where you're going to get your categories.
Organize grocery items automatically using sections.
There you go.
Colors: red, orange, yellow, selected, green.
See, I can pick a color for this list.
Light blue, indigo, pink, purple, brown, gray.
And if we keep going, we're going to get to the emojis that I can also use
Rose,
for the list badge.
icons, emoji, list, bookmark, location, select location pin, selected, gift, birthday cake, graduate cap, backpack, ruler and pet file, book, wallet, credit card, bills and free weight.
I'm going quick.
Bills and coins.
You get the idea.
Running person.
So there's so many. This is where I got those list badges, like the airplane and the grocery cart and stuff. Now I'm going to just dismiss this.
Dismiss pop-up. Selected. Running person.
Oops, I changed the thing. I didn't mean to do that. Oh well.
Done. Button.
Doesn't matter.
Hide sidebar.
Because we're not using that list anymore anyway. That was last Christmas. But now you'll see.
Reminders. Christmas 23 items. Shared with Kathy Volbrecht and one other. 3 reminders. Running person badge. Green.
I changed
Double
the...
tap to view list.
Okay. But again,
Double tap and
this is the long press menu, right? That's how we get to this option to show the list info. That's also where you share the list. And now what we're going to do is we're going to double tap on a list. Let me just double tap on
fam reminders.
reminders.
19
This is just my regular reminders list, the sort of default.
reminders. 19 reminders.
Okay.
Reminders. Reminders.
Now,
19 reminders. List badge. Cyan water the bamboo.
on the right side of my iPad, there are, starting at the top left of the right quadrant,
Set due date button. Toolbar. Add list. Set due date.
we cross
button.
over there and we have these little set due date.
Set look flag.
Remember those
button.
things?
Add tag button.
All right. But
Share list button. More button.
there's a more button, and there's a share list button there as well. Now, this more button is different. So this is not really a split screen when you hide the sidebar. I kind of stand corrected there because this is the sidebar still showing. So that more button we looked at before was on the far left. This more button is on the right side. This more button is within the list that we are currently selecting, and it is important. I want to show it to you.
Reminders heading.
See, there it is.
More button. View as columns button. Show list info button. Select reminders button. New section button. Sort by manual button. Hide completed button. Save as template button. Print button. Delete list button. Customize toolbar button. Dismiss context menu.
Okay, for the sake of time, I'm not going to talk about all of those, but there's a few that I want to talk about. First of all, it's cool to know that you can print a list, right? You saw that in there. But some I want to talk more deeply about. Add section. Remember I told you, you can create your own sections in lists, even if they're not true grocery lists. You can create other sections. It's just not going to automatically organize things into them for you, but you can organize them by section. So if you have a packing list, you could have maybe toiletries, you could have clothing items, you could have technology, all the stuff you're going to pack when you're going on your vacation, right? Snacks, whatever, and essential documents, your passport, whatever. So you can create your own sections in any list, right? The benefit of the grocery list is that it already has the common sections and it knows how to organize items then, but you can use any list as a section list if you want to. The other one I wanted to talk about, it said save as template. That's how you create a new template. Remember, we talked about that a little bit. And the other one I wanted to talk about here, it says hide completed. That means it's currently showing the completed items. Now, you'll know they're completed because they will say that they're completed. They'll say they're checked off, and they will be at the bottom of any section. But you can actually hide them so you don't even see them. When I am in the grocery store, I like to hide the completed items. That way I don't see them at all. And then when I get home, I show the completed items because I want to be able to remove them. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So we're going to say dismiss context.
Button.
Now over here,
reminders, 19 reminders, flag, but add share list, more.
There's
button.
the share list button, the more button.
Reminders, heading.
Now,
635 completed.
See, because they're showing.
Clear button.
And I'm going to clear them because I've not apparently done that in a long time on this reminders list. So we're going to go ahead and clear the completed items.
Clear completed reminders. Older than a month, but older than 6 months. All completed button.
I'm going to say all completed.
Dismiss all completed. Alert. 635 completed reminders will be deleted from this list. This cannot be undone. Delete 635 reminders button. Delete 600 pack the library.
So it's good to clean that up every once in a while, and I didn't do that in this list, but now I did. So that's how easy it is, and you can choose whether you are deleting the just older than a month or 6 months or whatever. All right, back to the right side of the iPad here in this default reminders list.
Add tag button. Share list. More button. Reminders heading. 0 completed.
Right, we cleared them.
Clear. Dimmed button.
Can't clear anything now because there's 0.
Take out the garbage. Incomplete. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Weekly. Tag chores. Double tap to mark as completed. Use the actions rotor. The rotor to access completed tasks, incomplete tasks, overdue tasks.
And if I use the rotor with one finger,
delete, flag, show detail, enter detail, drag item, activate.
The title, I can enter details, but I can also just double tap it on activate, and that will mark it completed. And for sighted users, you can just tap it to check it off. I believe you can either long press it, or there's a little eye next to it, like we talked about with the calendar the other day for sighted folks. My son's not home yet, or my daughter right now. They'll be home in a while. If they get home when we're still on this call, I will ask them, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a little eye next to it. And for us, we just use the rotor. But again, you can just double tap to mark this as complete. Or if you're not a voiceover user, just one tap, right? So you heard a lot of information about it.
Take out the garbage. Incomplete. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Weekly. Tag chores.
Now,
Double tap to mark as
just
complete.
pause that. Because it is tomorrow at 10 p.m., I'm actually going to get an alert tomorrow night at 10 p.m. that I need to take out the garbage. I don't have to be in the reminders app to get that. It's going to come in as a notification. What I will do is I will not open the reminders app. When I get that alert, if I'm using my device, it'll come up as a banner, or else it'll be on the lock screen. I'll long press it, or I'll swipe up or down and choose more, and I'll say mark as complete. I don't even have to go into the reminders app to do that. It's an actionable notification. I can say mark as complete. I can say snooze for an hour if I want to. I can say remind me tomorrow. That wouldn't make a lot of sense because I need to have the garbage down by the road tomorrow night because the garbage truck comes early in the morning the next day to pick it up. So I need to do it tomorrow night, but it's going to happen. I'll mark it as complete when it does. But in general, you could mark it as remind me in an hour or remind me tomorrow. You have those options too. But here in the app, we can just double tap and we can mark it as complete.
Pack the library books. Incomplete. Charge my Apple Pencil. Water the bamboo tree. Incomplete. March 30th. Clean my coffee maker. Do some kind of reset iPhone. Reset iPad. Reset in. Take my pill. Test. Incomplete.
There's a
tap to mark as completed.
A test reminder which
the actions rotor to
doesn't have anything associated with it.
Crown of Life. Everyday G. Incomplete.
I'm not sure why some of these are on here like this. I should have put them on another list, but
Spirit Life. Lighthouse. Others. Incomplete. Charge the meta. New reminder.
That's interesting.
Incomplete.
Okay, at the very bottom,
Call Thomas. Toolbar. New reminder button.
there's a new reminder button, okay? And I'll show you that because I want to show you how we can immediately enter details about it. So let's mark some of these. Let's mark
test incomplete.
Double tap.
Double tap. Crown of Life. Take my pill.
Now look.
Light other charge. New remind. Call top test completed.
It moved it.
Double tap to mark as incomplete.
See?
Use the action.
It moved it to the bottom of the list and it says it's completed. Let's do another one.
New reminder incomplete. Call Thomas test completed. New reminder completed. Toolbar.
Okay.
New reminder button.
Now let's actually make a new reminder. That one was called new reminder. I must have not titled it, but let's do
title. Text field is insertion point at start.
Now these are
the rotor to access misspelled words.
This is kind of a smart field. Like some people actually type like water the plants tonight at 8 and it automatically puts the alert in there and stuff. I don't do it that way. I like to actually see the details and choose them more carefully.
Cap L.
But let's just call this class test.
Cap L A S S space T E S T.
Okay. It's important to know that immediately, if I want to keep entering more reminders, I can just press the return key.
Right, return.
And I can continue adding more and more and more. This is like any good list making app. You type an item, press return, type an item, press return, type an item, right? Every time you press return, you get a new list item. And that's going to be especially useful in our grocery list. But in this case, I want to work with this item that I just called class test. Up at the very top right of the screen.
Add tag, button, share list, add flag.
Remember those buttons?
Add, share list, more, done, button.
There's a done button just to the right of the more button. If you don't want to press return and enter a new item, you press done. But I want to go to the right.
2 completed.
Okay, we have 2 completed items. We remember that.
Clear.
This is my list of reminders again.
Take out.
Go past all that.
Take ever Spirit Life, Lighthouse, Other. Charge them. Call Thomas. Test. Completed. New reminder. Completed. Title. Text field. Is editing. Class test. Insertion point at end.
And there's the one we're working on.
Use the rotor to access misspelled
Now,
words.
if I swipe to the right,
Notes. Text field.
there's another field.
Double tap to edit.
I can
Use
make
the
some.
rotor to access
Okay, I can make some notes about this reminder, which is useful if I want to add notes, and I'll show you that in the grocery list. Let's go to the right.
Edit details button.
There's an edit details button.
Undo button.
And there's undo.
Redo. Paste. Dim.
There's our
button.
paste.
Test.
Okay.
Test. Testing.
Now,
Grab access.
predictions. But up at the top, those quick bar buttons, quickly turn on the, what was it, like date, or let me just
Set due date.
set due date, set location. That's a quick way to do it for the current reminder. But I want to go here.
New reminder. Title. Notes. Text. Edit details button.
I want to bring up the full thing so I can see all the detail options.
Cancel button.
There's cancel.
Details. Heading. Done button.
There's done. You can do this on any reminder. In the rotor, it said enter detail. Remember that? But here.
Title. Class test. Text.
Okay, I can change the name.
Notes. Text field.
There's notes again, but now let's go on.
URL. Text field.
Maybe there's a web address
Double tap to edit.
associated with it. I can put that in there.
Date. Off. Collapsed. Time. Off. Collapsed. Tags. Button.
Okay, date and time.
Location. Off. Collapsed.
All right, let's do.
Double tap to expand controls and enable.
The date is done very much like in the calendar, okay? When we turn that on.
More options shown. Month. March 2024. Button. Adjustable.
That's our hybrid picker.
Double tap to Friday. March 1st. Button.
And here's
containers.
Go to vertical navigation.
Headings. Screen word. Edit. Vertical navigation.
We can quickly go through the calendar by swiping down now.
Picture. Expand. Pick. Activate. Vertical navigation. Reminders.
Hold on.
Early reminder. None.
Okay. Oh.
When messaging.
Hold on a minute.
Time. Sunday. Saturday. March. Picture and expand. Picture.
Okay. Very interesting.
Selecting this option
my picture-in-picture was getting in the way there.
Early time, Sunday, Saturday, Friday. Headings.
There we go.
Vertical.
So
Thursday. Picture and expand.
It keeps wanting. It's a little different in this app. I apologize, but I can swipe through the dates. But here's what I want you to see. So we will pick.
Saturday. March. Selected.
It is
today,
okay.
Wednesday,
It's already on today, so we're going to leave it there. But I want to show you something. If you go to the right, this is really cool.
Saturday, Sunday, time, off, collapse.
Now we can turn on a time.
Double tap to expand controls and enable.
If you don't turn on a time, it's going to be the default time from your settings for new reminders that have an alert with them, which I think is like 9 a.m. But
time,
we're going to
more options shown. 4 o'clock, picker 5 o'clock.
Say 5 o'clock. Actually, it'd be cool if I could be reminded of this while we were in class here. So let's see, what time is it right now? 3:13. So maybe
time 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 0 0 05 10 15 25 minutes. 18 of 60.
25
p.m. Early reminder, none.
Okay.
Double tap to show context menu.
Look at that.
Repeat. Early reminder, none.
Look at this.
Selected, none. 5 minutes before, 15 minutes before, 30 minutes before, 1 hour before, 2 hours before, 1 day before, 2 days before, 1 week before, 1 month before, custom, button, dismiss context.
So not only do I have the option of getting an alert at a certain time, but I can get an early reminder ahead of time.
Early reminder,
okay.
None, repeat, never.
We have these repeat.
Double tap to show context menu.
Recurrence patterns again like we did before.
Tags, button.
And then tags.
Location.
Okay,
tags.
So now we're out of that section. So we can tag this reminder. I showed you I already have 2 tags, bills and chores. You can create your own tags here. Or choose from existing ones that you've previously created.
Location off, collapsed.
Now we can turn on a
tap to expand controls and enable.
We can turn on a location and make this a location-based reminder, which will have the options of like leaving, arriving, and so forth. And then, and in fact, let me just show it to you. Let me. Hello. Hello. Missed you. How are you?
Tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Fine.
You have work yet? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to you in a couple minutes here before you go. Okay, so let me turn on this location.
Location. Location. More options shown. Current location. Button. Selected. Home. Arriving. Getting into the car. Getting out of the car. Custom. Button. Arriving. When message. Arriving. Matthew's home.
And then it's showing you
Double
what's...
tap to adjust location options.
So we can do all of those different... And custom, we can even pick a different location. So let's turn that off because we're not going to use that one.
Fewer options shown.
And then
when messaging off, collapsed.
That's the one that I said.
Tap to expand controls and enable.
That's your person-based reminders.
Selecting this option will show the reminder notification when chatting with a person in messages.
Okay.
Flag off.
We can flag this.
Priority none. List reminders. List badge cyan blue.
I can change what list it goes to, and if I'm on a shared list, I can assign it to other people, but I'm not in a shared list.
Subtasks 0 button.
I can add subtasks. Remember, like all 5 of the bills need to be paid on such and such a date, and so on.
Add image button.
Can add a photo.
Add image.
And that's
button.
it. So I'm going to go up here.
Cancel. Done button. Hide sidebar button.
Now if we look.
Call Thomas. Chart. Class test incomplete. Today at 3:25 p.m.
And we're going to
double tap to mark as completed.
We're going to let
Use
it be.
the actions rotor to edit the title.
We're going to let it be incomplete because I should then see my reminder at such and such a time. So that's good, and that's really cool. Now, let me switch gears here, and let me go into the grocery list.
Completed button. My lists. Grocery shared with Jessica Voldrecht. Grocery shared with Jessica Voldrecht and 2 others. 8 reminders.
All right.
Shopping cart badge. Pink.
It's shared.
New item in breads and syrup. Bread. English muffin.
Now look at this.
Collaborate button.
Remember we added bread.
Share list button.
So
more button. Breads and cereals. Expanded heading.
And notice.
Double tap to collapse.
You can collapse the list item, or let me say that again. You can collapse the section. Each category can be collapsed if you don't want to see what's in it right now, just to make the list a little easier to navigate.
English muffins, incomplete. In section, breads and cereals. Bread, incomplete. In section, breads and cereals.
There's that bread that I added.
Double tap to mark as complete.
With the HomePod.
New item in breads and cereals.
And we could put a new item in there if we want.
Double tap to add sauces and condiments. Expanded. Soy sauce. Ketchup. Dip. Incomplete. Peanut dip.
Listen to this one.
Bacon horseradish or French onion. In section. Sauces and condiments.
Did you hear that it said
double tapped
bacon horseradish or French onion? I put that in the notes because I was getting chip dip on the list, and I put a note in there. Remember, you could add a note to your reminders, so that's what that note indicates there.
Peanut butter, incomplete. New item in sauces and condiments. Dairy, eggs and cheese. Eggs, incomplete. Almond milk, incomplete. New item in dairy, expanded, heading.
And that's my grocery list at the moment.
New item. Button.
I know some other things we need.
Double tap to add a new item. Use the rotor to access.
So instead of doing the new item in section, I'm going to go to the bottom and say new item.
New item button.
And I'm going to keep typing. So
to add a new title. Text field is editing. Insertion point at start.
I'm going to type orange juice.
Cap R N G space J U.
Whoops, hold on.
U space
there we go.
J Juice.
And it knew.
Space juice space.
Yep, there it is. And I'll press return because I want to keep going.
Return. Categorized orange juice as beverages. End editing. Then magic tap to refocus.
And see, it even tells you some details there. All right, I want to add another item. And that's egg beaters.
Cappy G space B E A T E E S. Auto completion suggestions available.
And there's auto completion.
Space beaters.
I think it's good.
Delete.
All right, we're gonna press return.
Return. Categorize egg beaters as dairy, eggs, and cheese. End editing.
And we're gonna add cookies.
Caps O O K O E.
Whoops.
E O I E S.
Now, instead of pressing return, because if I press return, it will add it, but it will also create a new item again. And I don't want to do that because I'm done for right now. So I'm going to go up near the top here and I'm going to hit done.
Bread, incomplete. English, new orange, beverage, done, more,
there.
Done, button.
Hit done.
Picture, breads and cereal, new, orange, beverage, done, button. Done, button. Done. Categorized cookies as more, button.
All right, so now let's look at this list.
English muffins. New item in or beverage. New item.
Okay.
Cookies.
First of all,
more button.
you can see
snacks and candy expanded. Cookies incomplete. New item in snacks and beverages expanded. Orange juice incomplete. In section beverages.
and you know what I did?
Double
Just
tap to mark as completed.
think of another item that I want to.
New item in beverages button. Double tap to add a new semicolon. Cap L. Cap E N O N A D E.
Lemonade.
Completion suggestions available. Cookies incomplete.
And go.
More. Done. Button. Done.
Okay. Now let's go.
New item in snacks and beverages. Orange juice. Lemonade. Incomplete. New item in beverages. Breads and cereals. English bread. New item in sauces and condiments. Soy sauce. Ketchup. Dip. Peanut butter. New item in dairy. Eggs and cheese. Eggs. Incomplete. Almond milk. Egg beaters. New item in expanded.
And
new item. Button. Toolbar. New item.
And there's the
button.
new item. So you can see how this works. You can see how easy it is. And if I go up and I show the completed items, because we may not have done that since the last grocery trip, so I'll go up to more.
Assign button. Collaborate. Share more button. View as columns. Show list info. Select items. Manage sections. Sort by. Show completed button.
Let's do that.
Cookies. Assign. Ship more. 219 completed. Clear. Clear. All dismiss. All completed button. Alert. 200. Delete 219 items. Button. Delete 200 cookies.
Doesn't change anything about the current list because I wasn't showing the completed items before anyway. And in fact, I'm going to hide them again because I really like them hidden on the grocery list because it's just easier. As I said, it's still very obvious which ones are completed because they jump to the bottom of the category and they say completed. And you can see that, of course, too. But also, I just think I prefer.
Assign. Collab. Share more. Button. View. Show. Select. Manage. Sort. High completed. Button.
It's just a little bit easier.
Dip.
All right.
Incomplete.
I'm going to
horseradish or French onion.
Leave the reminders app for a moment. And
blue files.
go back. I'm not going to go back to Zoom, though, yet. I'm going to stay here. I think my reminders are set as time sensitive, so they would actually come through anyway, but I'm just going to stay right here. So here's our experience lab that we're going to do. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you a little break, and I'm going to give you a chance, not a break, well, you can have a break if you want, but I'm going to give you a chance to try this. I want you to create a grocery list. I want you to use reminders. You're going to need to show your sidebar if it's not already showing, and create a new list. You can call it whatever you want, grocery or shopping or whatever name you want to give it, but you're going to have to go into the list info and you're going to have to choose the list type of groceries. You can share the list with family members if you choose to. You can practice that, invite people to work with you. But then I want you to actually go into the list and add some items to it. And by the way, if you also want to pick a color and an icon for the list, like the shopping cart or something, that's okay too. We'll give you 10 or 15 minutes to try this. I think it's pretty straightforward once you get past the first step. The first step is going to be the most challenging probably for the folks who haven't done this before, because you need to create a new list, not a new reminder, but a new list. And you need to remember to specify in your list details that it is indeed a grocery list, not a standard list. That's the two most critical steps. Anything else you want to do in there too is fine. If you want to share the list with others to try that out, practice picking a color, an icon, whatever, and then start adding some items. And remember, if the item gets put in a category you don't agree with, you don't want in a certain category, you can use the rotor and you can choose to edit the details of that item. And you can go down and pick a different section. In your item details, you'll see section. And you can pick a different one. And then you'll be able to change the category of the item. So all of that is available, but add several items to your list. And in just over 15 seconds, we should see a reminder here. And it popped up on my watch. It popped up on all my devices.
Photos.
But you can hear,
Video.
and I
Photos.
think it probably knows.
Video. Class test reminders.
See, it's even on my watch. It says class test.
Class test today, 3:25 p.m. Mark as completed button.
And I'll mark it as completed.
Reminders, like you said, personal preference. Me, I got a calendar reminder, or not a calendar reminder, but I got a calendar event that just repeats monthly that tells me because all my credit card bills are due on the same day because they're all with Capital One. And I had it set for the 5th because they're due on the 7th. And I snooze it or I dismiss it, but it reminds me again 2 hours before delivery time or set time, which is 10 a.m. So it reminds me at 8 a.m. that's the day they need to be done. But again, like you said, that's personal preference. I've played around with reminders, but it just, I mean, I don't do a lot of grocery lists and things of that nature. So I mean, like you said, personal preference. But reminder, they have come a long way, especially because when you were teaching this stuff about 3, 4 years ago, you couldn't do grocery lists the way that you do them today. It wasn't possible, so you would do them in any list. And I think there's another grocery app that you used to use, but now, as I asked you last night, those grocery apps lists, or those grocery apps aren't even necessary anymore, right?
Right, right, absolutely. When I began using, well, even before the iPhone, I mean, when I was using other assistive technology years ago, I always liked to be able to keep a grocery list, and it was very primitive back then. But when the iPhone came out, that was one of the first categories of apps that I began looking at was grocery lists, and I've had some sort of grocery list app, ever since we had the first iPhone. But they've evolved, they've changed, and new ones came out, and at some point they started adding voice capability, which now, that wasn't even back in 2009 when I got the iPhone. That wasn't even a thought on the radar. Now I would not use a grocery list app if it didn't have Siri support in it, because I want to be able to use my HomePod and stuff. And so AnyList was the most recent one. And I would say to this day that if you have to share a grocery list with non-Apple users, if your family has some Android users or whatever, then that's still probably going to be your best bet. But yeah, definitely, if they're all Apple users, there's nothing better than reminders. It's just so simple. It's the best implementation of a grocery list, in my opinion. All the features, they just
I may
work.
try it with the tasks though, because I have a couple of other bills that are due, and that's a category I can put all those in of a list, right? And it'll just remind me of those times as long as I set the date.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
I might test that out. That might be, I'm not gonna say a better option, but an alternate option, just in case the calendar decides that it doesn't want to remind me or the alert doesn't pop up or whatever the case may be. So
Okay, so I'm one of these people who has to make the new list from the beginning. So I got to reminders, and I said new. It said new list. And I tapped that, and then it said somehow I got blue, which was fine. And then I turned, and then I typed groceries, and that was fine. It seemed to be, but then I couldn't get to a list, so I don't know what I did after the. It seemed like I labeled it groceries, but I didn't know what to do after that.
Well, you have to go again, you have to go to the list info, which it sounds like you were in maybe, but you want to make sure you go to the list info and specify that it is actually a grocery list, because then it will have the categories. You'll hit done, and then the list is just going to be there. You can double tap on it and it will select that list for you, and you can start adding items. On the bottom right of the iPad, you'll find the add item button, and you can start typing the items you want to add.
So once I do the groceries, I go to done and hit tap it.
Yes.
Tap done. Okay,
yes.
where is done?
Near the top of the list info screen, if you go, like you could do a 4-finger single tap on the top of the screen and just swipe right and hit done. But again,
okay.
This assumes that you've gone into the list info, which you have to do in order to tell the iPad that it's a grocery list that you're creating.
Okay, so I just need to now go to the top and do done, and then it'll take me into my list. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would double tap on the list to make sure you're actually in the correct list. This is where taking the time and having the persistence and the patience and the willingness to actually try it for yourself when we do these labs and so forth. That is the best learning you're ever going to get, because just sitting here and listen to me go over it step by step. I mean, I know compared to Cliff, I have a really awesome sounding. No, I'm just kidding. But if you just sitting here and listening to me teach it, it's kind of about as effective as if I were to, I don't know, read an entire manual to you and expect you to just remember everything. You've got to try it for yourself and actually, the fact that I do the screen shares and you can hear voiceover, I think is helpful, but you still really have to put your own hands on your own device and see, okay, when I swipe to the right, this is what I hear. And then if I move my hand over here, this is what I'm getting and this is what I'm hearing, and that's about the best way that that's going to really be cemented in.
So when I was swiping around, what does schedule mean?
Where did you see that? In the reminders app?
I did, yes.
Scheduled is a smart list. It's a list that automatically populates of all of the reminders that you have date and time alerts for. So if you've got a reminder that has a date alert, a time alert, that's a scheduled reminder. And that is going to show up in the smart list called scheduled. God bless you all. Have a wonderful Easter and a great weekend. We will see all of you back on Monday for our next iPad class. And take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.